Join us as career changers, company leaders, industry experts, and others who have been in your shoes share their stories, insights, and lessons learned to help you find enjoyment through employment in the tech world. I'm Nemo Ashong, and this is the Empjoyment Podcast. Why, hello there, employees, and in the words of Bobby McFerrin, don't worry, be happy. I say that because that's the feeling that I got when I left this conversation with Katie Sawyer. Katie is pursuing her passion of writing and bringing that to life over at Eventbrite as a content marketing manager. During this conversation, Katie will share, what content marketing is and how to go about thinking about writing meaningful content for the people you're trying to reach and serve. It was also really great just to hear how she experiences writing in a fast-paced environment like a tech company. I have a feeling you're going to thoroughly enjoy this conversation with Katie, and my ask of you is that as you listen to this, take note, put this into action, and if you're finding this podcast to be helpful and relevant, please tell one other person that you know about this podcast and one other person that you honestly feel this podcast can help transform their life. This isn't something that every single person needs to listen to, but for the person that does, my ask, I implore you on their behalf, as their friend, as their family member, as their coworker, let them know. Let them know that we employees and enjoyment are out there to help them be successful. Okay, I'm going to let it happen. Here's the conversation with Katie Sawyer. Hello and welcome to Enjoyment, where we're focused on helping people just like you find enjoyment through employment. Today, we are joined with Katie Sawyer, who's going to walk us through her enjoyment journey. Katie, we are incredibly excited to explore how you found enjoyment today. But before we get to do that, we'd like to get to know you better, both personally and professionally. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your life, love, work, and passion?
Sure. I am in San Francisco. I've been here about 5 years, originally from St. Louis. I think I spend a lot of my time running and sitting in parks, probably having a beer, and just really enjoying the sunshine.
Nice. That's awesome there. And I'm really excited to jump into more about your story here, Katie. And I think the way I like to look at it is that at least through every story, every story and every journey has kind of like an end destination or something that helps us get to a place, right? Our map. The thing that helps us move from there. And I would love to, for me, I feel like that map when it comes to the enjoyment portion is kind of a success quote or mantra. And I was wondering if you would mind sharing with us a success quote or mantra that you've used to guide you through your professional journey.
Yeah, what I think about a lot is it's okay not to know. I did a career change from working in higher ed to get into tech, and I did not know anything about tech. I didn't understand the industry, didn't understand the people. I live in Silicon Valley, but it was all going on around me. And I, for a long time, felt like I was inferior to the people who were in tech until I realized it's really okay not to know. And when I was interviewing and just kind of, talked about the elephant in the room, hey, I've never worked in tech, but I can do this. It really relieved a lot of the pressure and really opened up the conversation with the person I was interviewing with, and really just set that tone from the beginning. And then I didn't have to worry about it anymore.
Wow. It's okay not to know. Katie, just even hearing you say that, just helps me feel like a sense of kind of like freedom in a sense there. And it seems that that's what happened for you. I'll be honest. I had a moment for a while where I was like, I think I need to know what comes next, what goes on there. And just having that freedom saying it's okay not to know, and making great things come from there. Wow, that's just a wonderful way of starting off this conversation here. And what I love to do now is to take that theme there, take that thought of it's okay not to know, and see how that's gone throughout your career. So why don't we go ahead and start things at the very beginning of it, right? Can you walk us through and let us know what led you to choose the type of work that you currently practice?
Sure. I went to school in Chicago, graduated with an English and communications major, knowing I wanted to do something with writing, but again, did not know what I wanted to do. Ended up getting a job in St. Louis, working at a university in their fundraising office, doing marketing and communications. So I was interviewing donors, writing articles about them, wrote multi-million-dollar proposals for donations, and really enjoyed the work I was doing, but didn't know where to go from there. So after about 4 years, I was ready for something else. And accepted an offer at Stanford University out here in California. So I made the jump from St. Louis in the Midwest to San Francisco, and was doing similar work, marketing communications in the fundraising office. And it was a good experience, but I was there for about 4.5 years. And higher ed is just really slow. I did not know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work in something that was more fast-paced, something that really had a focus on writing. So I spent a long time looking for a new job, and it was hard for a while. I probably sent out like 300 resumes and had a bunch of interviews, but nothing quite panned out. But eventually I got a job doing content marketing at a small startup in San Francisco. And it was a really big change working in higher ed that's pretty rigid to a startup that's kind of all over the place. And recently accepted a job at another tech company in San Francisco, still doing content marketing, so focus on writing. And I've really enjoyed the transition, really just breaking into this world that I didn't really understand before and trying to embrace it.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Like really just, it feels like you're fully embracing it there. And what's cool is that like, it seems like you're very intentional with what you're looking for. Like, you know, you've tried a couple of different things, and as you're trying it, you're sussing out and identifying what's working for you and what's not there. You know, I think that's really great. You had kind of said that you had mentioned that higher ed was slower and that you were looking for something more fast paced, and you found that, you know, being in the startup world was very different. I was wondering, do you mind, like, is there one thing that kind of like sticks out to you as being like a fundamental change in the difference between the two worlds there, just to kind of like help employees get a picture of what that might look like?
Absolutely. I think in higher ed, specifically for writing, getting approvals for something, it was really hard. So you would have to talk to your boss, who would have to talk to her boss, who would have to talk to her boss. And there were so many approvals and red tape just to get something approved and printed. Whereas in the startup world, you don't have time for that. So you are, I think, more intentional about what you're writing, and you have to write really quickly. So I will write something, my boss will look at it, I edit it, it goes back to her, and then it's out the door, all within one day. So it's definitely a lot faster. Which also, I think, makes you more productive too. When you have in higher ed somebody approving something, but it's going to take 3 months, I think you're just not working as efficiently as when it has to get out the door today.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for making that clear for us here. And Katie, I can hear even from just the way that you tell these stories that like how good you must be at this here, because everything is just coming through just so clear and just you know, really it's really great. So just want to say, like, while you might be writing, you're just an amazing storyteller, and we appreciate that. I know I do. And I love to take that here into the next part of your journey here. And, you know, while I'm really happy everything worked out so well for you, we know that, like, you know, a career path and the career journey is definitely not a linear line. You know, there are twists, there are turns, there are forks in the road, there are roadblocks as well. And what I like to do is focus on the roadblocks here for a bit, because we all experience them. They help us make us stronger, but, you know, typically, quite frankly, they're just not talked about enough, and there's a lot of pressure to feel like you got to get it right the first time. So if you don't mind, in an effort of keeping it real here, can you share with us a story of a specific challenge or a difficult time at work where that you had on your journey and the steps that you took to overcome it?
Yeah, I think there probably two. The first is really just transitioning itself. I had a really hard time getting interviews, trying to break through into the tech world. And it's not because I couldn't do it. I was fully capable. But when someone spends 7 seconds looking at my resume and they don't see a specific job, they see that I've worked in higher ed for 9 years and they don't know how that translates. So it was really frustrating and hard knowing I could do jobs and I was getting passed over just because it wasn't what a recruiter thought would be a normal background. But once I did get interviews and talked through it with the people I was interviewing with, it really was not an issue at all. And I think that's one thing it took me a while to realize. I was really self-conscious about the fact I didn't have any tech experience. But once I just put it out on the table, no one cared. Everyone has to start from somewhere. It's not like you're just born in tech. Someone has to give you a job first. So somebody once told me you just have to act really confident, and that's what I figured out. And once I got more confident, then I could get past the fact that I wasn't getting interviews like I wanted to. And I think another roadblock is just some of the jargon that people use. I had spent so long in higher ed, I was used to higher ed terminology, and now I'm talking about differentiation and optimization. But so just learning a new vocabulary. But I think the insider's tip is no one actually talks that way, especially in writing. If you sound too much like a tech person, then you're not believable. And it's something I didn't really understand until I got inside. And people who are using some of those words, I think are just projecting.
Wow, that's awesome there. And like, I appreciate you giving us the bonus roadblock there, because I think, realistically, these are the real things. And you actually had said something here that, really resonated with me, and at least like made like my skin kind of light up, which was an insider's tip. And, I think it's part of the reason why I wanted to start this podcast and get people really to see tech, because, there is that feeling of being on the outside, and, what's really coming through with what you're saying to me is like, you belong, you may not know you belong, you may not think you belong, you may not seem like that, people are understanding why you belong, but like, you belong. And like, no one really cares about like the fact that you don't have the experience. It's like, can you do the job? Can you add something to the plate? And are you a good, value add to the organization? And I love how you're like, yeah, there's just different words. Like, and it's funny because you say like differentiation and optimization. And I'm sure like in like, technology company A, they have one meaning, and in technology company B, they have something totally different.
Absolutely.
So I like what you're saying. Like, it's like no one really uses them. Be a real person.
Yeah,
Go with it.
Yeah, just be human. That's fine.
Just be human. I love that. You got that. So, those were some like really amazing value adds there. And if you were going to like just sum it up for employees today, like what is one takeaway that you would want them to leave these experiences with?
I think definitely don't give up. It's okay that you don't have the specific experience that you think they want. If you are confident and you know that you can do the job, that's all that matters.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I love that you think they want, that's awesome. So let's go ahead then and flip things around a little bit and spend some more time on some of the great things that you've been able to accomplish since then. So would you mind telling us about a project or some kind of undertaking that you had where you felt that, you did really well and the steps that led to your success?
Sure. So at the first startup I joined, I was brought on to take the lead on their blog and their social media. Two things that I had never done in higher ed. I knew I could do it, so once I got there, did some research, and there was really no social media guidelines at all. Some people were using it, but there was no standard for how we're using it, what we're doing with all their channels. So I took the lead, created guidelines, figured out how we're using each channel, and created a schedule, created a calendar, had themes about what we were posting, and how that related back to other content we were putting out. So infographics and our blog, product releases. And within 5 months, I helped increase the blog traffic by like 140%, increased click rates and customer turn. So it was really exciting. And I think the best part for me was I really got to learn something and take something and build it from the ground up. So my first step, because I had never done this before, really was just research. So like reading things, talking to people, being open to suggestions, and then implementing and testing what was working, what wasn't working. And then also bringing it for social media, bringing in different content. So I partnered with our intern who is a graphic designer and let her create graphics for our social media, which was really fun for her, but also fun for us too, because we could try something different. So that was super, super fun. Yeah.
Wow. And it's, I'm smiling here. You can't see this here, but I'm beaming here because it's really cool. What I'm hearing from you too is like, hey, guess what? It's okay not to know, right? Exactly.
You'll figure it out.
Yes. And I really love that process you just walked us through. So what I was hearing from you was like, in this case, you ended up doing some research behind it. You came up with a plan, you executed on that plan, and it was okay if that plan wasn't like the right one. You looked out there and you started iterating. And can you describe what this for people who aren't maybe familiar with like what iteration is? Like I'm not looking for a textbook definition. I'm just kind of curious how Katie thinks about iterating, especially as it's worked in your life, in your experience.
When I think about iterating, I think it means, like you just said, trying something out and then trying something else out. So kind of building on that, maybe changing one or two things and playing around with it if you can get better.
Awesome. Well, I mean, like that's really awesome. And I fully appreciate that. And just, would you mind giving us one golden nugget that you like people to take away from that experience there?
Yeah, I think kind of going back to it's okay not to know, but it's okay to try things too. If you're transitioning into tech or you're just at a new job, sometimes, you don't want to rock the boat too much. But the best part about being new is you actually have a lot of leeway to be different and to kind of get a little crazy. So I think really being bold and taking chances is the best thing anyone can do.
All right. Be bold, take chances. Let's see how all that has kind of like built upon itself here. If we bring things to the present times now, would you mind sharing us one thing about your professional journey that is currently exciting you?
Yeah. So I just started a new job last week, which is very exciting. And what, for me as a writer, what I really enjoy transitioning into tech is seeing my name printed on things, but also being able to put content out there quickly and write about different types of things. But the best thing I like about writing is affecting emotion. And by emotion, I don't mean like something that's going to make someone cry, but especially in like a tech company or a B2B company, hopefully getting people, getting prospects to be customers. So getting them interested in what we're doing and into the company. That's what I love about writing.
Well, thank you for that. That's so much fun. I'm so happy for you. It feels like your journey is like going exactly in the way that you want to go there. Kudos to you on all the successes that you've had, and best of luck with this next part of your journey to find enjoyment through employment. And it's interesting because like what I like to do now is like shift the focus from like your story here to something to help others be able to really go through and find this kind of enjoyment for themselves. And what I think might be fun to do is just focus a little bit more on the content marketing side of things here. I've had some experience with it, working with enjoyment and some of the other things that I've done in the past. But to a lot of people, they may not actually know what content content marketing is. So why don't we spend some time here, maybe exploring that a little bit here. And if it's cool with you, I'll ask a few questions related specifically to that, and hopefully help some people take some concrete steps toward this if this is something that they're interested in.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, great. Well, can we maybe start off with, I hope this is an easy question. What is content marketing?
So the way I would describe content marketing is if you think about the marketing funnel. So prospects or customers come to a company and they are taking in all these different types of pieces of content. They're reading a blog, they're getting an email, maybe a salesperson is reaching out to them. So they go through this journey. And content marketing is really like the beginning of the journey. It's the first interface between a prospect and the company. So our job is really to delight them, just give them hopefully helpful pieces of information that is not necessarily related to the company. So it's like a soft sell. We think about customers' challenges. What are their pain points? And we put out content, whether it's on our blog or a podcast, and we think about those challenges and just write helpful things about it. So that's kind of like content marketing. And then the full marketing operation is helping connect all of the pieces. So that first touch, all the way down to the close of a deal. So thinking about all of the different touch points that customers have with our company. Marketers are usually involved trying to craft the right story to give to our customers. So as a content marketer, I'm really focused on writing things on our blog, our emails, helping with our social media, that would give customers or prospects just helpful information that they could use in their daily life.
Awesome there. And so like with this here, this is helping me get a picture of this here. Can you maybe walk us through what like a typical day looks like to you? And there may not be a typical day, but like, just things about like, who do you interact with? How does your day look like? How do you come up with different topics, things like that? Like what is that? Do you even, like you mentioned the plan earlier, like I'm just really curious, like how does that all come together?
So the best way that we know what to write about is talking to the people who talk to our customers. So talking to our customer success team, who are the people that customers will call when they're having a problem, but also talking to our sales team. So when they're talking to prospects and customers, what challenges do those customers have? Why are they using our product versus another product? So thinking about, so definitely talking to the sales team, but also our product team, our engineers, what new features are they creating on our product? And we're not necessarily going to write about that, but it's helpful to know. And we schedule very, very far in advance at my company. So we have typically a theme, and within that theme, that's when we've reached out to our sales team to think about different topics, tangible things that we can write about that would help our customers. So throughout the day, I'm either talking to someone or doing research for a blog post. So if I'm writing about the 8 best things that you can, or 8 reasons why people go to a beer festival. Well, like I need to research that. Like, I mean, I have my own opinions besides just drinking beer, but I'm going to have to research and make sure that I'm writing something that's credible. And then working with my team to edit it. How do we make this better? Which words should I change? And then how does this fit into our bigger strategy? So talking with my boss, talking to the other people on the marketing team to figure out what type of content we can share and how can we build on other work that people are doing. Awesome.
I have like 2 quick follow-ups on that. Firstly, like those 8 tips you're talking about, would that be like the theme that you're describing, or is that is that like a level below the theme?
That would be the level below the theme. So if our overall theme is, let's say, I'm just focusing on festivals, then the sub themes would be like, here's a beer festival, here's a wine festival, Here's a food festival. So really targeting things within that bigger theme.
Awesome. And then I think like the second follow-up question here, if you're willing to explore this with me here, is like you're talking about like your previous experience being something that was like on a slower pace, you know, and now you're like moving in like in a faster pace, and you're like there's less approvals and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about like how you got comfortable with that there? I know like, you know, I'll speak for my own self here. I came from a place where, you know, there were several approvals and several levels of checks before something went out to the client. And this is like before my tech experience. And it was it was a difficult transition to make, you know, so I was kind of curious from your standpoint, how you were able to embrace that. And if you had any suggestions for others that are exploring that.
I definitely talked with my manager to make sure she understood where I was coming from and what I was comfortable with. And I think something that I really had to internalize when I started in tech is no one's really going to follow up with you. You kind of have to be a self-motivator because the last thing you want is your boss chasing you down for something. Because it is so fast-paced, you need to be really organized. So I always have a Post-it with my to-do list and outstanding projects that I have who I needed to talk to. And I got comfortable in that fast-paced environment. One, because I had to, but also you just figure out things you can do to keep yourself on track. So whether it's a to-do list, whether it's blocking off your calendar to put your head down and get your work done, and being really on top of your projects, it's really important.
That's awesome. And like, I love how you're like, you have to be really organized, and like, it could be as simple as having just a Post-it note. It isn't like you have to go out and learn like, you know, this complicated project management tool. It's like, no, but whatever your system is, make sure you're able to get it done.
Exactly.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask you one last question on this or around this topic here, and then we'll go with our last question of the day. But for people who are interested in, you know, content marketing or maybe marketing in a technology company overall, like, what do you think are what some of the skills that you feel are most important to being successful in this type of a role? And and I guess just as importantly, how do you think that employees can demonstrate that, you know, even just given some of their own maybe non-specific tech experience?
Sure. I think the skills are, for content marketing specifically, being a good communicator and having good writing skills, but also being curious is really important. So if you're writing something, it's not good enough just to have a general topic. You really need to be specific and dive into it. So that might mean doing a lot of research or talking to a bunch of people. And one thing that I did that I felt was really helpful, not having any specific content marketing experience, there are lots of free trainings online. HubSpot is a great company, and they have different types of academies that you can take and get certificates. So I took a few online courses through them that were completely free, and I got a certificate, and I learned more about digital marketing and things that I had heard about, but I didn't really know what it was. And I was very fortunate in my previous role that we had professional development funds. So I could take another online class, and my company paid for it, which was great because then I built my skills and I started to build a portfolio. So even though I didn't have specific examples of work like a blog because I didn't have one, I could show that these are the steps I've been taking to make sure I am up to speed and I understand the industry, even though I'm not in it. So that's definitely something that people can do on their own.
Wow, that's awesome there. Like, this is that is so great here. And it seems to be really, really coupled into like why you've been so successful there. You're a self-starter, you're making things happen, and you've been resourceful to bridge any kind of gaps there. So Katie, if you don't mind me saying kudos to you right here. That is inspiring to me here. I'm like, oh, I need to go by and think of my themes, and I need to go by and, you know, come up with a plan here. And so I want to thank you. Thank you very much for that. Let's go ahead and wrap things up here. And I like to end each conversation with a roadmap that our employees can act on this week to create enjoyment through employment. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you one last question.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's go. All right. Imagine your mind got sent back in time to the exact moment that you decided to commit to your current career. You have the same skill set as you did back then, but you have all your memories, experiences, and confidence that you've developed since. What would you do in the next 7 days to put you on a path to find enjoyment through employment?
The first thing I would do is go online and look for networking opportunities. Networking is really helpful. You might get a job through that. But one thing that I've learned over the course of my journey is just talking to people, being comfortable with your pitch, what you want to do. It's okay if you don't know, but you need to be comfortable saying that and figure out the type of skills you want to use. And the more that you can talk about it, the better you're going to be. And then also putting your head down and just getting to work. Find a personal project or trainings that you could do and really be dedicated. Looking for a job is a full-time job. And once you really commit to that, things start falling into place. I think it's only when you kind of half-ass your search, that's when things aren't going to work out. But if you stay dedicated and put yourself out there, it's definitely going to happen.
Wow, that's awesome. There you go. So you have that there. Go out there, make some great things come from that there, and fully commit to doing the work in there. Well, Katie, I really, really appreciate you taking the time here. Would you mind giving us like one parting thought that you like employees to have in mind, and then let us also know how we can reach you if we want to stay in touch?
Sure. I think definitely just keep in mind that it's going to happen. It might take a while, but the right thing is out there for you, and just stay at it. And if anybody wants to keep in touch with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Katie Sawyer, or email me at katie.sawyer1@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Katie. Thank you so much. It's going to happen. I love that. That is like, what a great way to end this year. And let's leave it on that note there. I want to thank you so much for taking your time, your expertise, and really just being authentic, vulnerable, and real with us here today. I think like really kudos to you for finding enjoyment through employment. And with that, Katie, we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Booyah, booyah, booyah. How was that episode for you, MJoyees? I'm still sitting back here just like reeling in just excitement with all the great things that came from it. And one of the things that I really felt was important was Katie's emphasis on having some type of system to allow you to do great work in a fast-paced environment. So I want to make sure, MJoyees, that you all have something that you can use to move at the speed of tech in a sense. So Katie had brought up just using something as simple as a Post-it note. And for today's journey, where you get to take your insight and turn it into action, I'd like you to go ahead and share your system of staying organized to keep yourself on track to short deadlines. We're going to be discussing this over in the Empjoyment community, which you can easily get to by going to empjoyment.com/community, or just type in the word employment to 33444. We all learn and share in various ways, and quite frankly, it'd be really fun to actually see your systems of moving things forward. So if you want, please take pictures, take a video, and upload it into the community so we can all benefit and maybe even expand the way that we think about taking care of business in a short period of time. I want to wish each of you the opportunity to experience joy every single day. Take care until we talk again.